Good morning, America. I am Mateo, and I will be your reporter for the morning. Well, today it seems like we're going to speak about fashion. 1970s fashion. The 1970s fashion it was considered the me decade. It consisted of mini skirts, bell bottoms, and the hippie look from the late 60s. We have adapted over the years a Americanized look that makes us who we are. It gives us personality. Fashion is what we need to talk about today, which later became one of the most iconic decades for fashion ever. Usually, the outfits consisted of fabrics that were tight on the upper body and loose on the lower body, such as the dancers at the discos that wore those big afros with the loose pants. Alright. A few of the top fashion models in the 1970s were Lauren Hutton and Janice Dickinson. Time for more news. Now we're going to speak about arts and entertainment. First things first. Movies and television. Sesame Street came out in the 1969, which later progressed onto the 70s, of course. It was the world of puppets. It was funny and happy, and just plain old goofy sometimes. You can never decide which character is your favorite, and they have all been a success. In addition, there were a lot of TV shows that came out in the 70s, such as Hawaii Five-0, Hotel California. Now we're going on to music. American Pie, Heart of Glass, Dancing Queen. They may ring a bell to you, some may not. Literature. A lot of poetry is being written. Them authors are getting tired of writing, but it's worth it. There's not many plays going on, and there's some novels too going on. One of the most popular authors right now is Toni Morrison, who wrote about being her kind. Must be hard. She had plenty of readers. Another famous writer is Rod McCuen. He was a poet, and his work is very popular right now. There's a lot of humor being upgraded to this society that we live in today in the 70s. Humor is the groove. Humor is important. Have you ever heard of Cheech and Chong? Well, they are three comedians that record their voice and make jokes in lifestyle. Recently, in 1976, the classic Disney movie Alice in Wonderland came out. What do you think of that? Alright, well that's all I have for today. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mateo, for your insight. Now to politics. The long, crucial war in Vietnam has now finally begun to show signs of there being an end. In accordance to the military, we've been able to train and leave the southern Vietnam forces in a stabilized position with having pushed back all northern Vietnam forces.
As you can see, the war here in Vietnam is being played out through the use of bombers who relentlessly pound the Viet Cong on a daily basis. Tanks, helicopters, and other land weapons of mass destruction are also in use. Napalm and Agent Orange are as well another fierce weapon that's used to expose the northern Vietnam forces and ultimately allows for there to be more accuracy among airstrikes.
It is in great sadness that I am to inform you that more than 3 million people have died, of those 58,000 being American. Families have been left to mourn their loved ones in a war without a purpose. People have stormed the streets in protest and derogatory manner. It is time for the people to speak up and earn what they deserve. Now back to Chris for further information.
Thanks, Rudy. As of November 4th, 1979, an affair broke out. This affair is known as the Iran-Contra affair. Casualties and losses consist of 4 servicemen that were killed in accidental destruction of an aircraft. This crisis is a diplomatic crisis between Iran and the US governments. As of right now, I'm getting word 49. As of right now, 49 American diplomats are being held hostage after a group of Iranian students belonging to the Muslim student followers of the Imam's line were supporting the Iran Revolution. They took over the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. President Jimmy Carter called the hostages victims of terrorism and anarchy. In the Iran hostage-taking was widely seen as a blow against the U.S. and its wide influence in Iran. Its perceived attempts to undermine the Iranian Revolution. As of right now, President Jimmy Carter is trying to force the Iranian government to trade guns for the hostages, such as this one, the Benjamin Centerpoint MP and the 1088 pistol. No one knows right now what the governments are trying to do, but we're trying to plan this out and we're trying to get our diplomats back. Thank you, and here's for more news.
So, the Arab-Israeli war, in which Arab members part of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries have imposed an embargo against the United States in retaliation for the U.S. decision to resupply the Israeli military for post-war peace negotiations. Arab OPEC members have as well extended the embargo to the following countries that support Israel: Netherlands, Portugal, and South Africa. This embargo has banned the petroleum exports to the following nations and brought up cuts in oil production. Richard Nixon's administration to end the embargo has signaled a complex shift in the global financial balance of power to oil-producing states and triggered a slew of U.S. attempts to address the foreign policy challenges emanating from long-term dependence on foreign oil. That's it for today, guys. See you back tomorrow.
Thank you. Now for some environmental issues going on right now. The immense booming of jobs is demanding an increased need for factories and power plants to help the city grow and to provide jobs. But looking at the bad side, these power plants and factories can cause a number of problems, including air pollution and damaging runoff. The air pollution in New York is going off the charts. Due to the growth of more industrialized countries, there's an increase in urban to rural migration, causing workers to cut down trees, cutting and removing grass, and removing the plants for construction of houses and buildings. A very major environmental concern in the late 1960s and in present years is the use of pesticides and fertilizers. As agriculture is becoming more commercialized and centralized, the need for better, higher crops is being increased due to the amount of competition. Pesticides and fertilizers enable more predictable crop yields and reduces loss to pests, increasing nitrogen levels in the soil and growing crops immensely. As of right now, acts in place are the Clean Air Act of 1970, the Clear Water Act of 1972, and the Endangered Species Act of 1973. Environmentalism has a great impact on our society in America right now, and hopefully more acts will be in place so we can prevent air pollution and we can get a better, more productive environment for us to live in. Thank you and have a great night.